So, by now you've already seen the reliability loop a few times. First we observe, then we annotate, we discover issues, and then we build evaluations and iterate upon them. In the first part of this track, we are going to focus on 3 of the most important steps: annotation, issue discovery, and building evaluations. Let's begin with annotation. Annotation is the process of assessing the quality of AI outputs by reviewing logs and explicitly labeling what works and what doesn't. This is actually how you turn subjective judgment into something structured and usable. Models are generally very good at generating text and completing tasks, but they cannot reliably judge correctness in tone or nuance in the way that a real product requires. They also cannot know whether an output meets your expectations unless those expectations are fully and explicitly specified, which is rarely the case. Models do not know your users or your business context. Teaching them that context is your responsibility. At the end of the day, they do not know what acceptable means for your use case. Only a human, ideally the AI PM or a domain expert for this feature, can look at the output and say, this is good enough to ship, or this fails, and we're going to explain why. Now, let's look at a few examples that are correct in theory, but are not adequate for the task. A response can follow the prompt perfectly and still fail. For example, with our prompt, it might classify the request correctly and cite the right policy, but reply with boilerplate that doesn't actually help the attendee. It might be technically accurate, but route the issue to the wrong category, so the guidance is incomplete. It might also follow policy word for word, but use a tone that feels dismissive for someone who is stuck on the gate. Or you might get correct information, but miss one action the attendee needs to take right now, or information that wasn't included in the policies. These are the failures automated systems struggle to catch, because everything looks correct on paper. So now let's see how annotation fits into all this. Annotation is how human judgment becomes data. Every label, comment, or thumbs up is an explicit signal about what quality means in your system. And this is the key point. The information is the foundation of your evaluations. You cannot automate quality before you define it. You cannot measure reliability before a human decides what reliable looks like. Teams that try to skip annotation do not move faster. They usually end up just automating the wrong thing. Annotation is also not a one-time thing. As you iterate on your prompts and models, new issues will appear, and some issues can meld into others. That is why it's important to do this regularly, ideally on a weekly basis as you make it through your traces and have new traces come in. Annotating even a small sample of traces each week helps surface new failure modes and keeps you grounded in how the system actually is behaving in production. Now we're going to head over to Latitude and we're going to see how annotations work practically. So let's begin annotating traces. To get started, what we need to do is navigate to the annotations page. Just do that clicking here. If the logs that you see pop up aren't for the festival chatbot, you might need to go over here to where your prompt is and make sure that you have it set as the main prompt. What that does is make the traces for that prompt appear in annotations. So now we're ready to get annotating. So a few things to get familiar with the setup we have here in the annotation section. We have this up here, which is just telling us that we need to annotate 10 runs to unlock our issues section, which we'll get to in the next section. Right here, we have the ability to pause or resume real-time updates, which is going to allow us to stop any traces from coming in so that we can annotate existing ones. And we have these. We have production traces. So these are logs that are created for live versions. And then we have playground over here. These are where the traces from our experiment are going to appear. To begin annotating, we select the trace here, and then you'll see something similar to what we saw with the traces before. However, there's one difference. If you scroll down here, you have this thumbs up and thumbs down. Now, this is where the actual annotation comes in. If you do a thumbs up, that would mean everything is fine. This is exactly how you expected it. You wouldn't really need to put feedback, but if you would like to, that's possible. However, if you go thumbs down, this is going to open issue detection. We can annotate here, and then the annotation is going to be used along with the other ones that you've created to cluster the types of errors that you're pointing out into issues, into greater issues. So let's start writing our first one. So the first thing we need to do when we approach an annotation is read through the trace. We need to carefully understand exactly what's happening in the trace, and with our AI PM cap and our knowledge of the product, what we're going to do is try to decide whether or not we're okay with the output. And if we're not okay, we need to point out what we're not okay with. The important thing here is we need to think of this trace as what exemplifies the issue. Right now, we're just going to focus on what is the main issue that we see here. Let's see, user, my wristband won't light up like my friends, even though I followed the instructions. Is there some activation step I missed? Okay. And then we have 2 tool calls. As we saw before, this appeared in a lot of traces. However, their tool calls are successful, so there's no issue with there. Okay, now let's see the output. So we have quite a long JSON object with, let's see, a few keys that I wasn't expecting. We have request category and response. This is actually as we stipulated before, if you remember. However, we have this greeting, body, closing, signature, all of these extra fields that we don't really need. And so we can keep that in mind when we go to annotating. Okay, I think I'm already aware of what the big issue exemplified in this trace is. And so I'm going to go down here and I'm going to write that in the annotation. Now let's see what a good annotation looks like and what a bad annotation looks like. For example, we could write JSON wrong. That's possible to do. However, we're really lacking a lot of information here, and perhaps if there's a couple different types of issues with JSONs that are coming up, that wouldn't really be captured. So the important thing here is just to be as specific as possible with what is going on, okay? So JSON wrong perhaps is not a good annotation. So let's write something a bit more specific. Okay, so we've gone ahead and we've been a bit more specific here, and we said the response field of the JSON output should only contain the response as a string. It should not be another JSON object. What we're going to do now is we're going to save the annotation. Now, we'll see this green check mark here, which means that it was successful. And what we're going to do here is we need to go ahead, and I recommend that in a session, we're going to sit down and we're going to annotate 15, okay? This is just a good starting point. It's important to understand that the amount of annotations you do is directly correlated to the reliability of your prompt in the future. So this is the step of prompt building, really besides writing the prompt itself, that is going to take the most brain power, okay? But this is really where we're putting our understanding about how the prompt needs to be into the prompt. These are going to be some of the highest quality insights that we can get to improve our prompt. So we need to make sure that we're giving it its due time. So let's go ahead and let's annotate another. Let's go to Festival Chatbot. We'll go through these a bit quicker, but we're going to take our time. Okay, so let's see. I'm a journalist covering the festival. Who should I contact about arranging interviews? And then here we have a failed tool call and then a good tool call, okay? And we have request classification and response. Okay, so actually this response is what we're looking for, but here we have an issue. And one of those issues is that there was a failed tool call. So we'll go in here and look at this and see maybe why this failed. Okay, error failed to fetch, notion latitude. And here we have a successful tool call. I'm not exactly sure what happened here, but to be safe, let's just say. So we'll be very specific here and say the first tool call failed to extract information from the website. And then we're going to go ahead and save the annotation. So let's continue. Festival Chatbot. User says my ticket already got through, it never checked, so to charge on my card today. So looking at this one, I can see immediately that there is a JSON issue. It's actually very similar JSON issue to what we saw before. So let's write that down. Let's say, and we save the annotation. So here we have another failed tool call, but the output is fine. Let's go here and look what's happening. So it seems here like it made up a URL. So let's put that in there. Let's say, so it said the tool call failed because the model hallucinated an example URL and did not use the URL provided in the prompt. Okay, let's save that. Okay, here everything looks good. We have 2 successful tool calls. The only issue I'm seeing here is the 2 tool calls. So let's write that. And save that. And we go on to the next one. So looking at this, here we have immediately the 2 tool calls as always. But here we have this message field. We don't need it within response. So let's put that down and say, and we save that. And here, let's go a bit faster. We have here a double tool call. Save. Here we have another first failed tool call. So we've gone ahead and we've done 8. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish all 15 and then we'll come back. So we've just done a few more, and actually here we've come across an example where it did it correctly. I'm actually perfectly okay with this output. We have just wanted to say the staff was very helpful yesterday. We have a singular tool call with a correct output. And here we have the 2 JSON categories that we asked for. So here actually we can just give it a thumbs up. Let's continue annotating. All right, so now we're back. We've gone ahead and we've done 15 of the 20 traces that we have, and we've annotated them. And now we have a better understanding of what's going wrong with our prompt. So what are we going to do with this information? So now we actually don't have to worry about it. We set up this auto-discover issue. So those annotations are going to be clustered and issues are going to be created out of them. I'm sure you can already imagine what some of those categories might be. And so what we're going to do in the next section is issue discovery. And we're going to see actually how we can address those issues that came about through our annotations.